Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Jasoranandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Jasoranandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Jamunitiravanatari. Jamunitiravanatari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balava Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Jamunitiravanatari. Jamunitiravanatari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Boom. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Boom. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pri Bhujakacharya Siti Shishim's Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakota Vaishnava Ki Alex Namacharya Shaladas Thakur Ki Prem Shri Ghosha Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadara Shivasati Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Say Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Ki Mathura Dham Ki Dwarka Dham Ki Navadi Dham Ki Jagannath-puri Dham Ki Chamuna Maya Ki Ganga Maya Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Sambhira Bhakti Vinda Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Say Siddhara Giridhari Ki Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki Gopremanande. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to divine Lotus Sita Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. That's the key. Stay now. It was perfect. Thank you. At least it works for my voice. Narayana Namaskritchandanam Shaivam Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Krishna Sadamo Bhagate Dhammaganadi Bisaha Kalanda Sadasham Mesha Parano Konadodata. The Bhagavatam, as brilliant as the sun, is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, the goddess of living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Oh, we have a little friend. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we don't have the verse on the board because we don't chant it. It's prose, yeah, exactly. All right, no, I was just confirming that someone hadn't spaced out. So then do I just sail into the word for word? I like to say the word for word, but what do you think? What have we been doing?
Well, we have been chanting the I've been chanting.
And then we just go into the translation?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
All right, go ahead.
Etesham Kapir Mahavira Savana Iti Traya Asan Urdvaretasas Ta Atma Vidyayam Arbabavad Arabhya Kritapadichaya Paramahansyam Evashramam Abhajan.
Translation. 3 amongst these 10, that's the 10 sons, namely Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, lived in complete celibacy. Thus trained in brahmachari life from the beginning of childhood, they were very conversant with the highest perfection, known as Paramahansa Ashram. 3 amongst these 10, Nikavi, Mahavira, and Savana, lived in complete celibacy. Thus trained in brahmachari life from the very beginning of childhood, they were very conversant with the highest perfection known as the Paramahansa Ashram. Paramahansa, it comes from a type of swan. And anyone know the special feature about this swan? Prakash, go ahead.
Mix milk and water, and if you will offer it as it will only take the milk and leave the water.
So if you offer milk and water combined together and offer to the swan, it separates it and spits out the water and swallows the paneer, or the curd. Do you believe this? Is it a poetic license, or do you believe it? For many years, it's in the Bhagavatam, it must be true. But, okay, there it is. What do I know about things, Turns out there was a docent, one of the, a volunteer guide at the San Diego Zoo. And there's a type of swan from Africa. And it has an enzyme in its mouth. And it can what happens is when it drinks water mixed with milk, it curdles it. And it separates into the water and the milk, the paneer, the curd, and it spits out the water and can eat the curd. So there it is, in the pages of Bhagavatam, confirmed by the San Diego Zoological Society. I found that quite encouraging. There it's in the Bhagavatam, it's true. And Prabhupada told Sariputta, one of the most intelligent people I ever met, genius certified, double PhD in statistics and theoretical physics, I think was the other one. Tenured professor at Cornell University, 32 years. I mean, the guy was like, the original whiz kid. And couldn't fill out a rental application. That's another story. But what was I? So he told me that Prabhupada he was one of the founding members of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. And he told me that Prabhupada, because he was asking, Srila Prabhupada, how do I understand? I like to think about things. I like to consider it from this angle and that angle, but I don't want to be speculating. So what is the difference between speculation and philosophical thought? He asked Prabhupada that. And Prabhupada said that speculation means we think, well, did Krishna do it or not? It's in the Bhagavatam. Is it true or not? That's speculation. The proper use of intelligence, it's in the Bhagavatam, must be true. How is it true? So understanding how you begin with a premise, it's in the Bhagavatam, it's true. Because what in the world do we know? If you're, we're off the track, but it's okay. If you're going up a hill, if you're looking up, what can you see? The bushes in front of you. You can see. That's all because of the angle of vision. You can, if there's trees and bushes, you can maybe see 10 feet. Now, if I'm at the top of the hill looking down, I can see the whole thing, and I can tell you, oh, hey, go to the left, go to the right. Oh, watch out, there's cactus that way. Oh, watch out for the rattlesnake. Hey, there's a big crevice there. So one who's looking down can see the whole field. One who's looking up can only see. So we are conditioned souls. We're looking up. What can we see? Can't see what's on the other side of this wall. Can't even see our own eyebrows. My favorite example was the professor at San Diego State who was telling me everything could be understood by sense perception. And I said, oh, really? And we were going back and forth about that. He said, no, let me read a quote for you. It's a visual point. He said, let me read a quote for you. And he got the book. Students are there, about 30 students. And he said, now if I could just find my glasses. He's going to show me how everything can be understood by his senses. And he couldn't even find his glasses on. I said, the students started to snicker. I said, sir. Oh, okay, I said, that was it. I said, come on, So, how did we get off on that? So, there it is, Hangsa. And we're going to talk about it. Hangsa means, so what is the analogy of Hangsa? Now we've explained that the analogy is accurate and true. Why do we use the example of a Hamsa, this type of swan? Anyone want to guess, other than Vijay, Balaram, Prakash, and Dravida Prabhu? If nobody steps forward, we'll let you go, Dravida. Why? Come on. Paramahamsa, why? Okay, yeah, I know you too. That's not fair. You know too. When we say Paramahamsa, why do we say Paramahamsa? Are we parrots, which is another type of bird? And just repeat? Okay, that's true, but why are they great? They know what is matter and what is spirit. They can separate. What is this ephemeral matter? They don't care for it. It has no worth, no value, no significance. They only take the essence. So we're going to talk about that Paramahamsa ashram in a moment. Did we read the translation? And did you guys repeat it? Oh, we got, yeah? I thought we got halfway through. Okay. Purport. The word urdhva retasa in this verse is very significant. Urdhvareta refers to one who can control sex life and who, instead of wasting semen by discharging it, can use this most important substance accumulated in the body to enrich the brain. One who can completely control sex life is able to work wonderfully with his brain, especially in remembering. Thus, students who simply hear Vedic instructions once from their teacher could remember them verbatim without needing to read books, which therefore did not exist in former times. Another significant word is arbabhavat, which means from very childhood. Another meaning is, quote, from being very affectionate to children. In other words, Paramahamsa life is dedicated for the benefit of others. Just as a father sacrifices many things out of affection for his son, great saintly persons sacrifice all kinds of bodily comforts for the benefit of human society. In this connection, there's a verse concerning the 6 Goswamis. And can you sing it in that nice tune? Chakraturnam.
Tyaktvaturnam sheshamandalapati Shrening sada tuchavat Bhutvadina Ganesha Kau Karunaya Kaupina Kantashito.
Thank you. Because of their compassion for the poor fallen souls, the 6 Goswamis gave up their exalted position as ministers. Raghunath Das Goswami, Prabhupada said, his family was so wealthy that they would cook one puri in a wok of ghee, distribute the whole wok to the poor, and then cook the next puri and then a new wok. And they were that's how they were cooking. You know, they were actually giving in charity, but that was they would just imagine. And Rupa Goswami had a whole boatload full of gold coins that he distributed. I mean, these were incredible. We're going to talk about Akbar and wealth in a moment, and Jiva Goswami, if we get there. So the 6 Goswamis gave up their exalted position as ministers and took vows as mendicants, thus minimizing their bodily wants as far as possible. They each accepted only a loincloth and a baking bowl. Thus, they remained in Vrindavan to execute the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by compiling and publishing various Vaishnava literatures. Oma Ganata Marandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Jakshu Shurmadatangena Tasmare Shri Gurave Namaha. So I was going to say a little something. There was that question, the Stump the Swami question, and I was thinking about it. About, you know, on one hand we're saying reject Varnashram, and then we say the perfection of life is Varnashram. So, you know, it can appear to be a conundrum. What were you going to say? Contradiction. Yes, better, contradiction. It appears to be a contradiction. But if the point is that we're not rejecting, it's perfecting. Like you can say, okay, if I want to go from here to Los Angeles and I stop in Laguna Beach, well, I didn't complete the job. Well, what is that? I can be chastised for that. But it doesn't mean that going from San Diego to Laguna Beach wasn't the necessary. It wasn't the complete process, but it was the necessary process. So one who understands, Varnashram has its purpose, even for ISKCON. And when devotees said, Prabhupada, I thought that we're beyond the necessity of the rules of Varnashram. Right? We're Divya Varnam. Prabhupada said, if you're beyond Varnashram, why are you falling down? It's a good point, That sort of ended the discussion. So we follow those principles as given to us by our 6 Goswamis. It's the essence. They once again pulled the essence out of it. But unless one comes to the mode of goodness and purified goodness, how can one understand? We don't try for it separately. But if we practice Krishna consciousness, the guidelines, the Raganuga, Sadhana Bhakti, if we practice Sadhana Bhakti, automatically woven in that is coming to the point of Sadhana, Sattva gun, Sudha Sattva, purified goodness. And in that purified state, then we can actually transcend and understand and come to the real oneness. That's what Prabhupada said, the perfection of the thing. Because what is in the ultimate, there's a verse, and I don't know the Sanskrit, maybe Dravida does. Without Krishna's blessings, if I have Krishna's blessings, what are the use of other blessings? Without Krishna's blessings, what are the use of other blessings? You follow? If I have Krishna's blessings, why do I need other blessings? And if I don't have Krishna's blessings, what is the use of any other blessings? So that's the one who understands the goal of the thing, samsiddhi haritoshanam, then that's oneness, then that's at that point we've transcended all the varna. But it doesn't mean in the intermediate states we do. Okay, so there it is. Well, the main thing I wanted to talk about was celibacy. And because we have saffron cloth and aspiring saffron cloth. And even so, it doesn't just mean the color of the cloth. The Udureta means one who the semina travels upwards. And I forget Prabhupada gave the measure, but 1 drop of semina equals how many drops, how many buckets of blood? Prabhupada gave the example. Anyone know? Is it 100? I think it's 100 drops of blood make 1 drop of semen. And the yogis, by controlling by going upward, it can go out or it can go up. And if it goes up, it makes the brain very strong. And here it talks about remembrance. Prabhupada said simply by celibacy, Gandhi got the British to walk out of India. So, you got to be determined, And that determination, you look at Bill Clinton, who was super smart. The guy was a super slick willy, but he was super smart guy, But he couldn't control his senses. And his whole, and you look at these big politicians, his whole reputation, he lost all of his position, he lost his reputation, he lost his standing in the Democratic Party. He couldn't get anything done. After that scandal with that, secretary or whatever it was, couldn't get anything done. And Prabhupada talks in the Bhagavatam, you've got Julius Caesar who conquered the known world, but what happened to Julius? Who'd he meet? He met Cleopatra, and that was it. Mark Antony, after Julius Caesar was gone, took over the whole Roman Empire. What happened to him? Who did he meet? Cleopatra. She got both of them. She got Mark Antony and Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. So Prabhupada gives an example how intelligence, that determination. No. I'm going to become Krishna conscious. I'm going to use my time and my energy in Krishna's service. And even materially, they're so enfeebled. Like if you're anemic, you have no strength, no energy, you're lethargic. So because they're completely distracted by the opposite sex, they have no determination. They can't stay fixed on a path. They can't. It's just. What is the example? There's a bull is a very strong animal. And I guess it's anywhere in the developing world, but you see, I've especially seen in Bengal, that they've got those big bulls, and you've got the little kids 6 years old. That bull, with its horns, have you ever seen a bull that's angry? A bull can bust right through this door, no problem. They just one horn, they rip that thing right off the hood, I mean, they're very strong animals, strong as a bull. So, big, strong bull, completely controlled by a little child, 5, 6 years old. Other than our usual crew, how do they do it? How is that big beast controlled by the little child?
No.
Yes. Food is one way, but it's not the way you see. It's a good guess. Balaram's trying to help you guys out with hand signals. Yeah, with the ring in the nose. Is it the septum? The septum is what this is called. It's very sensitive in a bull. And they pierce it, and then they put a ring or they put a piece of wood in there. And with a rope, a little child can, because the bull will go. It'll go any way you want. So big bull, and it's controlled by this. We're going to get to a point here, because we're talking about celibacy and being controlled by women. And works for women, for men. I'm not picking on women. Don't send me all those emails. We're going to get to that in a minute. But the other thing is that, and I was thinking of Prabhupada describes about the lion. And there was who was that tiger? Who was the guy? Siegfried and Freud? Roy? And they had 2 white tigers. And they were famous for it. And what happened one time? One of those tigers just had enough and just went after the guy, just shredded him, right? And probably, you can learn everything in the Bhagavatam. Do you know one of the ways, food, okay, that was a good guess. Food that they also control. Elephants become, anyway. But the way the tiger is controlled, Prabhupada says, is it's scared of the sound of the whip. It doesn't know where it's coming from. And it thinks it's going to hit him. He thinks it's a gun. It's not sure what's going on. And once they realize, wait a minute, it's just this skinny little guy with this whip. Boom! I had enough of this stuff, jumping through a hoop with flames, Forget it, I'm not doing it anymore. So, but the point is, Prabhupada says the big tiger is controlled just by that snapping sound. It's controlled. And how do they capture an elephant? They get a female elephant, nice bangles, little, a bow in her tail. I don't know exactly how they do it, but probably she's in heat or whatever, and the bull elephant falls him, and they have a pit, and they push him into a pit, and then they control him by food. After that, they control him by food. So the living entity is completely free. We're meant to be completely free from anxiety and fixed. And because of sex attraction, we become completely distracted, completely controlled. Prabhupada says the basic principle of economics, you've got a wife and you want to please her. You've got children, you got to take care of them. The famous example of what's the time? Yeah, we want to push on. So you've got the point that brahmachari life, celibacy, and it makes one strong. It makes one determined. And it's not just, otherwise I don't mean to be graphic, but, would you just slit your veins and let all your blood leak out? Who would do that? And yet they just pass semen. It just, and you become, in old age, you become enfeebled, you become sickly. You wonder why these, old fuddy-duddies, because they had so much sex, there's no brains left. So controlling the senses, and it also, a byproduct, a subtle byproduct, is one becomes very determined. And the memory, and Prabhupada talks about memory here, Previously they would just hear once, and we have the example of, and they would remember. It's said, sometimes they say, well, Sanskrit started, a written language 5,000 years ago. Previously they were scratching around and, whatever it is, and then they developed written language. It's a sign of the arc of civilization. No, it's not. Previously, they remembered everything. They hear it once, they remember. You don't need to write it down. You just remember it. Writing is actually a crutch. And even, I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, they had bards who could recite the Iliad and the Odyssey from memory, or a whole Shakespearean play by memory. There's those famous. Nobody writes an epic poem anymore. I think the last shot was Ginsburg with Howell, and that went in the tank. But the point is that they used to be able to, they had memory. And the king and the bard would come and sit before the royalty and recite so many, the King Arthur, whatever. I forget what that one's called, but there's so many famous. Anyway, you'll get it for me later on. But the point is they had memory. And they didn't have to write it down. So writing is actually, rather than being a sign of sophistication, it's a crutch. Okay, fine, Yeah, that's what they say, but cuneiform and all that stuff and tablets, that's their theory. We say it's they dumb down. And an example is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who Prabhupada said anything he read, even 40 years ago, he could remember verbatim. Because his intelligence was clean. So we should think, everything we do has a purpose. We don't blindly follow. We're not into blind faith. But there's a reason we're celibate. And it's better for health, Ayurveda will tell you. It makes the determination and clear thinking, so many different things. So that's something about the value and determination that comes with it. And just for fun, because it talks about the 6 Goswamis, I read this yesterday by something that, and it's a long story. But the Jiva Goswami, Tat Sandarbhas, and the Prabhupada said the smartest person to ever walk on the planet, Jiva Goswami. But Jiva Goswami was invited to speak by Akbar. Akbar met him twice, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. The last time Akbar was the emperor, the Mughal emperor of the Mughal empire, which went all the way from Afghanistan, all the way through Burma, and all the way down into South India. All the crown jewels, the British crown jewels, were stolen from India or given by Burma. The rubies they got from Burma. It all came from the Mughal Empire. All came from India. The peacock throne that was in, this is completely off the track. But you know that Krishna's Tu Bhagavan Swayam, all the different expansions come from Krishna. And all the goddess of fortune, all the way down to Durga, come from Lakshmi. All the jewels in the world. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Srivas is arguing, about your goddess of fortune and the opulence of Vrindavan. All the jewels in the world are emanation from the dust of Vrindavan. That's pretty far out. So, but the point I was trying to make is that Akbar's kingdom was so opulent. Jiva Goswami was so important, and he was so impressed by the first time he met Jiva Goswami. The second time he sent a chariot, because Jiva Goswami said, I don't like to leave Vrindavan. I'm not going to leave Vrindavan. I saw, you want to see me, you come here. He came for darshan. But Akbar was having a mela of different saintly people, and he liked to ask different philosophical questions and have them opine on it, and he enjoyed that kind of conversation. So they invited Jiva Goswami, and now I know the topic. The topic was the ontological difference of the Yamuna and the Ganga rivers. So Jiva Goswami became a little inspired to come, and he said, all right, if you can get me back, pick me up in the sunrise, get me back before sunset, so I'm not really leaving Vrindavan for a day, 24 hours. And they sent a royal chariot and guards, and they picked him up. They took him to Fatehpur Sikri, which was only an hour and a half away. That was the kingdom. But the point is, and we don't have the full manuscript, but part of the discussion was that, well, which is better, the Yamuna or the Ganges, the Ganga? And you could say, if you're a Vaishnava and a Krishna Bhakta, you could say, well, the Ganga emanates from the toe of Vishnu. Okay, that's very auspicious, most auspicious. However, the Yamuna Tatachara, we were singing that Krishna's jumping into the Yamuna, right? So there's a full immersion. So the Yamuna's got to be better than the toe, wouldn't you think? This is Jiva Goswami's argument. But then Jiva Goswami points out, and again, please don't send me the emails. The men fight, women fight, everybody fights. But women also fight. So there's two rivers, and they're both devotees. So the Ganga was feeling a little bit secondary, like a second wife, because full immersion in the Yamuna, and I only got the toe. So there was some rivalry there in a sense of second citizenship. How was this disparity remedied by Krishna? They meet? No. Balaram said that, and Prabhupada also says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, therefore when Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to make the Ganga feel very happy, he profusely bathed in the Ganga. So in this way, they were on the same par. So it gives you a sample. Imagine the conversation with all the different sadhus and sages, and Jiva Goswami completely burying them with the actual ontological, compare and contrast of the Yamuna and the Ganga. So, that was the thing I wanted to say. And Akbar was so pleased by the explanation, defeated all the other rishis and the best and the brightest in Akbar's kingdom, defeated by Jiva Goswami, that Akbar built the library for the Goswami literature at the Radha Damodar temple. Ostensibly a Muslim king, he built the whole. You can go there, and there's it's a whole story. I don't want to go off the track any farther than I have, but he actually, with the royal stone that could only be used for Mughal buildings, it was a sign of the authority of the Mughal Empire. Is this Bansi red? And he allowed that stone to be used for building the library at Radha Damodar for the Goswami literature, out of appreciation for the erudite scholarship of Jiva Goswami. So that's our lineage, and celibacy pays off, my friends. Okay, so now I wanted to say, just to be fair, lest the brahmacharis think celibacy does not mean to hate women. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Women are Maya, Prabhupada says for a man, woman is Maya. For a woman, man is Maya. So, Prabhupada gives the example of Vishramrita. Yeah, meditating under the water. But also no, and I've got it wrong. Not under the water, you're right. That's Saurabhamuni. But Vishramrita was practicing austerities. Who gets worried when people practice austerities? Lord Indra gets really worried, because that's how they're going to take his post, and they think they're going to who's going to be king in the mountain. So what does he usually do? What is his works quite well? He sends a beautiful society girl, and what is their special weapon? Before the yogi opens his eyes, what is the way to get the yogi to open his eyes? They have nice tinkling ankle bells. So he opens his eyes and wham, he's finished. Prabhupada says the eyebrows shoot the arrow from the eye, for the eyebrows like a bow shoots an arrow, it's the glance. So they hear the tinkling bell, they see the beautiful glance, and it pierces the heart, and they're finished. So Vishramrita, was it 10,000 years he was meditating? Anyway, he was meditating sufficient to say a long time. And Indra sent this society girl. And what happened the first time? Yeah, Shakuntala. He fell down. Shakuntala got completely entangled, woke up later on and said, whoa, wait a minute. This is not where I want to be. And he pulled out of the whole thing, and he went back to his yoga. He sat down. He started all over again. And he went another X number of years. And Indra thinking, whoa, he's going to, What did Indra do? Send another society girl. Little ankle bells. And what happened this time? In other words, he lost all of his semen when he fell down with the society girl. What happened the next time Indra tried to pull this stunt? He opened his eyes and burned her to ash with anger. And lost all of his potency. Because both the attachment and the anger are opposite sides of the same coin. So he was lustily attracted, and then he was burned her to ash. So brahmachari, it doesn't mean that we're heavy with women. It doesn't mean that at all. What to speak of Vaishnavis. And one last example, and then we'll move on to quickly to one last point I wanted to make. Oh, is that the workers? Or the crazy neighbors? Or some homeless? There's so many things in Kali Yuga. What was I going to say? There were two sannyasis walking together. And they came to the bank of a small river, shallow river, but deep and running quickly. And there was a young woman there. And she had her baby. And she said, how am I going to, what to do? I need my hands to balance. I've got to cross the river, but I've got my child, and what to do? Can one of you help me get across the river? So one of the sannyasis said, get on my back. Took her across, this Prabhupada tells the story, took her across the river, got on the other side, put her down, and then the two sannyasis kept walking. And when someone's like really, they're burning with anger, they don't say anything, but you can feel the heat, that it's just right, they're about to blow, right? So the sannyasi who had not carried the woman was just simmering, and the other sannyasi was just, Krishna, 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 hey, walking along, happy. And then after about 20 minutes, the one angry sannyasi, he just blew. He said, I cannot believe you're a sannyasi. You're carrying this woman on your back, and Anyone know what the sannyasi responded? He said, I carried her for 5 minutes, and you've been carrying her. You still got her on you. You've been carrying her for half an hour, So it doesn't mean that we're, flirt with the women and all that stuff, but it means that, it's not an issue for us. As a Vaishnavi, we're polite, we offer respects. So I just wanted to get the wrong idea. The other thing I wanted to mention was about this compassion. And because Prabhupada talks about, kind to the children means that the devotee. I was thinking about the other day, people say, instead of thanks, they say no problem nowadays. No problem, no problem. I mean, I say it sometimes, no problem. I was thinking, what do you mean, no problem? They got so many problems. Can they honestly say no problem? They got a problem at every. There's always, they say in Italy, there's always a rock in their shoe. How can you walk? There's always something. So and like Prabhupada said, good morning. Only a Vaishnava can say good morning. They get out of bed with the clock radio. They go to a job they don't like. That they burn their toast and so many things. It's just not. It's all downhill from the moment people die. Dave Amritami sent a figure. I forget what the number is. It's something shocking. It's like something like 500, 450 people a year die getting out of bed. 1,600 die making toast. Yeah. Making toast. They must fish it out with a knife. I figured they're, don't try this at home, kids. Huh? No, that's the USA. In the USA. I mean, there's all kinds of people die in the bathtub. All kinds of amazing things happen. So it's a dangerous world. But the point I'm trying to make is that only a devotee can say good morning. Only a devotee can say no problem. And there's the famous tape, Prabhupada's on a morning walk. It's 1973 or 73. Good morning. It's 19. So someone's going to get, you go ahead for darshan, and they'll get you a little prasad too. So, nobody knew how to live in India. We were living in a construction site. The conch building wasn't finished yet. Were you there that year? Everybody was covered with mosquito bites, and that we had nothing to eat. We were living on burnt, rice, and I can go on, and people were dropping from sunstroke. It was tough. Prabhupada's on a morning walk, and he says, Devotees don't suffer. And you hear this long pause, because everybody's processing it. Okay, Prabhupada said it, must be true, but, and finally Panchadevita, who had a very nice relationship with Prabhupada, he was just, it was nice. So he said, well, Prabhupada, you said devotees don't suffer. And he says, well, what exactly are we doing? Because it sure looked like suffering. And everybody was, and Prabhupada laughed, because everybody was thinking the exact same thing. And Prabhupada would throw out these bombshells. He liked to make, you got to think. Bhavananda told me, we're way off the track, but Prabhupada was on a morning walk in Beverly Hills. Big houses, big mansions, right? And Bhavananda is actually his name, ones who enjoys the material nature. And when he got that name, it's not Baba, like Baba, it's Bhava. It means one who enjoys the material nature. And when he got that name, he said, boy, Prabhupada's got my number, And when Prabhupada put him in charge of Mayapur as the co-director, Prabhupada said, I've given you the kingdom of God, take it and enjoy. And he developed it nicely. He gets so much of the credit for developing it. He and Jayapataka, of course. But the point is that he has this enjoying spirit of material nature. He's walking along, and he walks past one of these big mansions. And Prabhupada says, someday we'll have a big house like that for Krishna. The devotee said, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada walked a little further, and there was a big Mercedes parked in the driveway. Prabhupada said, someday we'll have a big car like that for Krishna. Because Bhavananda was eyeing it. And the devotee said, Jai Prabhupada, They got a little further. There was a gate, but the big dog came running down the driveway. Prabhupada said, someday we'll have a big dog like that for Krishna. The devotee said, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada stopped and says, you fools, why do we want a big dog? Because the devotees were just Jai, whatever he said. No, think, I want you to think. So when Prabhupada said devotees don't suffer, probably seeing us all covered with mosquito and sunburned, and Prabhupada said devotees don't suffer. But then Prabhupada went on to explain that the devotee knows at the end of this life, back home, back to Godhead. Like we were saying, you'll all of a sudden, like waking up from a dream. You'll hear the flute, you'll see the dust of the cows, you'll see the cows come over the hill, the cowherd boys, and you'll just fall in. And then just, off you'll go. So, or, whatever your rasa, whatever it may be. So the point is that we actually have no problem. It's all solved. Like, you could say, if you have a good doctor and you have good medicine, my disease is cured. I just have to take the only time is like a green mango and a ripe mango. What's the difference between a green mango and a ripe mango? As long as they stay connected to the tree, what's the only difference? Time. So similarly, our problems are solved. We can go back home, back to Godhead. It's just a matter of time. Therefore, we're not in anxiety. And Prabhupada says a rich man's son is never in anxiety. Because he knows I got my father. A little boy has a strong father. He's holding his father's hand. The lion roars. He's roaring back. He's not afraid. So for a devotee, we have our Krishna. Prabhupada says, you think you're sitting on the floor? I'm sitting in the hand of Krishna. So the devotee has no fear. We have no problem. Back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, I remember seeing a Superman comic book when I was a kid. And it was based on the premise that we only use X amount of our brain. I don't know if that's actually true, but you hear that all the time. And the premise is that imagine if we were actually able to use our full brain waters. What to speak if you had Udareta. But, would we have X-ray vision? What will we have? So if our brain, if we think about it, certainly speaking for myself, I'm worried about my this and that and my health. And, the brain is full of so many things, Actually, not so much nowadays, but anyway, the principle is there. We're thinking about so many things. What if we have no problems? If we're not plan making, that's the point. If we're not making plans for material comfort or to push away what we don't like and get what we want, if we're not making those plans, what will happen? Will we not think of anything? What do Vaishnavas think of because they have no problem and they're not involved in plan making for sense gratification? Do they stop thinking like the Buddhists? Do they continue? Let's establish premise one first. Do they continue thinking or stop thinking? They continue thinking. And if they're not thinking of all the mundane plan making, what are they thinking about? Krishna's okay, Krishna's a good guess, but we're along with the theme here of compassion. How to deliver the conditioned souls. That's what the brain, because nature abhors a vacuum. The brain will fill with plans how to serve Krishna and how to spread Krishna consciousness. And then one's happy at every moment. And this is the last thing I wanted to say. Give me 2 minutes. What is the purpose? This living in a temple, and frankly, especially this temple, we are training young men. That is the focus of this temple. It is a rare opulence to find. I mean, we're doing everything else by Krishna's grace, and if we had the money, we'd get an ashram. This is for those on the internet. We'll get an ashram. There's so many nice ladies, young girls who would like to join Krishna consciousness. We need a senior householder couple and the funds to maintain them, and we need an ashram. 2 apartments, one for the couple to live in, to take care of the girls, and one for the girls to live in. If we have those 2 things, and that is probably around a $5,000 budget. We had that money, we'll start a women's ashram, because there's so many nice girls who would like to join. My service and this temple as it stands now, our focus is to train young men, to turn boys to men. We are the Delta Force, we are the Special Forces, and if you stay here, you will become a first-class, powerful preacher. And you'll become a well-balanced, intelligent, kind, compassionate, gentle person, gentleman, and you will become a powerful preacher. That's what we're about. We are not about making people comfortable in the material world. We're not about solving everybody's mental problems. That happens automatically. We're out to find cream. We're out to find intelligent young men who want to dedicate their life to saving the world. Let me be compassionate. My problems are solved. I've got Krishna, I've got Prasadam, I've got Vaishnava Sangha, I've got beautiful Radha Giridhari. I'm living in beyond heaven. I'm in Vaikuntha. I don't have any anxieties. Now let me get about my real business of spreading Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So that's what we're about. Balaram was talking about it the other day. That's what we're about. And people who want an adventure, who want to do something meaningful, people who want a challenge. If you want to be milquetoast, fine. Find somewhere and, be a butler somewhere in a temple and, that's fine. Great. But if you want to be strong and spread Krishna consciousness, we will train you. So that training is not just being sweet and kind. I read Giriraj Maharaj's book, I'll Build You a Temple. Man, that thing is a jewel box. I find, it's like a jewel. I was thinking it's like gold, and I'm going to write, don't say this to him yet, because I want to write it to him, because I was thinking about the other day. If you have a treasury chest full of gold coins, and there's some jewels in it, right? It's all gold. That's valuable in and of itself, but there's also some gemstones in there, So the whole book is gold, but there's some gemstones. And I was just thinking, I wanted to read this one thing, because when Vijay Prabhu or me or Balaram have to chastise you or correct you, Damodar Prabhu, where's that coming? Why are you picking on me? Or, who are you to tell me what to do? And all that. Why? Where's it coming from? So, and we'll end after this. This is from page 486 and 487 of I'll Build You a Temple by Giriraj Maharaj. The Juhu story. I'm quoting now. When something in the service once went wrong and Prabhupada became angry, his servant Navayogendra wasn't sure how to respond. Srila Prabhupada asked, when you get angry with us, what should we do? How should we feel? What should we think? Nice question. Prabhupada says, if the spiritual master is angry with you, you should be pleased, Prabhupada replied. It means that he's attending to you. You should feel happy. You should understand that your spiritual master cares for you. He's getting angry with you. His getting angry with you means he's looking after you. He's concerned for your spiritual progress. Prabhupada continues, when my spiritual master became angry with me, he added, we were pleased. There's that famous, Prabhupada's listening to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur speak in a public assembly, and there was an old man, Vaishnava, was tapping Prabhupada on the shoulder. Prabhupada's shining him on. Prabhupada's listening. The third time, the man wanted to know what time it was, so Prabhupada turned to answer him. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stopped his lecture and said, oh, you know so much? You come sit here and speak. Prabhupada said he was mortified. He was he was chastised. He said he was mortified, but he loved it. He thought, my Guru Maharaj, he's watching me. And he saw that I'm not listening, and he's given me the sauce. Great. And of course, you can see Srila Bhakti said, oh, you want to come sit here? Nice sarcasm. So Prabhupada's he says, when my spiritual master became angry with me, he added, we were pleased. There are so many hundreds of thousands of people in the street, Prabhupada's still speaking, but no one is looking after them. But if the spiritual master becomes angry with a disciple, that is his mercy on that person. We're almost done. If someone is walking down the street and doing nonsense, no one will check him. So many people are doing so much nonsense, but no one cares for them. No one is checking. But if someone is checked, if a disciple is checked by the spiritual master, that is to his eternal benefit. So many people in the material world are doing all kinds of nonsense. Is there anyone checking them? No, and they will all go to hell. When the spirit, meaning, that's where they'll wind up. When the spiritual master gets angry at the disciple, it's the mercy of Krishna on that soul. This anger is for rectification. I was in Chicago. Prabhupada told me you're useless. It's great instruction. Prabhupada told me anything goes wrong, it's your fault. That was pretty good instruction, I could tell the stories, but we don't have time. But the point we're trying to make is that we are here to be molded. Michelangelo, so they say, was standing looking at a stone. And big stone, marble block. And they say, what are you doing? He said, I've got it wrong. After he carved, La Pieta or David or one of those, beautiful statues, They said, oh, it's something wonderful. He said, no. He said, I can see it. I can already see it. All I've done is remove what doesn't need to be there. In his mind's eye, he could see the whole thing, and he just chipped away till he had what it was So, and similarly, the Silpa, the carver for our Lord Nrsingadev in Mayapur, he also sat. And what was his name? Atma Tatma went down there a couple of times to prod him. He said, no. He said, I can see it. I'm just figuring out how to remove everything. He could see it. There's a whole story. But the point is, those senior devotees, they can see. Prabhupada said, you see the spark and fan it. We can see the good qualities. This person is a nice devotee of Krishna. And they're going to do powerful service. We need strong leaders. We need them. This movement is the most important thing in the world. People are crying, and we need people to grow up, and we need them to grow up fast. We need to turn boys to men and get them out in the field, distributing books, distributing the holy name, and helping run this society. And we don't have time to play around. So, frankly, I'm being honest with you. So, we can see it. We can see the good qualities. The senior devotees have that vision. Vijay can see this guy's a book distributor. This guy's intelligent. This guy, he just needs a little help. Got to work it out, Dravida can say, hey, this is a scholar. This guy's got a brain. I'm going to teach him some verses. Balaram, sees all of those things. For what it's worth, I can see a few things too, you know. And so we're working on you. Same thing with Damodar. This guy could be a nice Harina, can help manage. So don't take it wrong. This is not an excuse to chastise or exploit or vent our, you stole my chapati, so I'm angry. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. But sometimes to correct and to rectify, just understand where it's coming. And if you stay with us, one last example, I promise. There was a guy who used to come to the temple who joined the U.S. Army because he wanted to get a free education and he wanted to get free medical afterwards, VA, which is not a bad idea on one hand. All of a sudden, and he fought, once he got in, boot camp in the Marines, forget it, He was trying to get out of there, and he hated his drill sergeant. In the middle of the thing, the first Persian, the Gulf War, first Gulf War. Yeah, the first Gulf War started. Is that right? Yeah. First time we bombed Iraq or whatever we did. Kuwait, whatever it was, who knows. But the point is, all of a sudden he realized, wait a minute, I'm going to get it shipped over there and people are going to shoot my head off. I better listen to what this guy's got to say. So he said, man, did he snap to attention. And he realized that everything this guy's saying is going to save my life. He said, oh, we bonded. He said, I became best friends. Whatever that guy had to say, I'm on it, Everybody in the squad or whatever, the platoon was like, hey, they were on it, because they realized, wait a minute, this matters. We are trying to get you out of the material world. We want you to go back to Godhead. We want you to experience pure Krishna prema. We want you to put your shoulder to the wheel and push this Sankirtan movement forward. That's what we're doing. And if you want to be part of that, if you want to become a strong devotee, work with us. And don't get uptight, oh, why did you say this? Or Balaram's making do this, or, Don't get uptight. Because we're helping you. And if you stay with us, you're going to come out at the other end with pure Krishna prema and a powerful preacher. All right, got it off my chest. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Hare Krishna.